I grew up in a culturally conservative area. And until I had my massive life crisis, I just figured, well, people that do energy healing and holistic health, they're either like hippies or they're just too dumb to see a real doctor. That's what I used to think. It's similar to that they say about astrology. Every major effort to debunk astrology has ended up supporting it.
Welcome to the Spirits Beside Us podcast. I'm your host, Chris Lippincott. I'm an ex-Wall Street analyst turned international medium, spiritual teacher, and best-selling author. Each week we'll dive into the fascinating and uplifting arena of the non-physical world to help you deepen your understanding and spiritual connection to the unseen realm. We'll also share a behind-the-scenes look with others who've done the same and speak with experts in the field about their experiences. Pull up a seat and let's dive into these perspective-changing conversations. Welcome, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Spirits Beside Us. I'm so glad you've joined us. It's always a pleasure to talk about spirit, spirituality, healing, energy healing, all the different modalities that we always cover here every week. Today, we've got a wonderful guest who is deeply involved in energy healing. But what's interesting is that he comes from a very technical background. He went to MIT. He was involved in, helping to create the internet. He's got, masters in computer science. So he's come a long way from where he was because he's gone through a lot of different energy healing. And we'll get into that story. But Brent Michael Phillips is an author, a great energy healer, an elite success coach, and a spiritual teacher. And he's been doing this since 2004. So I can't wait to talk to him and really get into everything that he's been doing. So Brent, thank you so much for coming on.
I'm excited to be here. This is great.
Wonderful. So a lot of people hear the phrase energy healer and they either roll their eyes or they're not quite sure what an energy healer is. So perhaps you can start there and just start describing,
Sure.
What is an energy healer?
It's so interesting. I used to be the same way because I grew up in a culturally conservative area. And until I had my massive life crisis, I just figured, well, people that do energy healing and holistic health, they're either like hippies or they're just too dumb to see a real doctor. That's what I used to think. It's similar to that they say about astrology. Every major effort to debunk astrology has ended up supporting it. So there's something there, right?
Yeah, there's something.
But really, what we recognize is pretty simple. That when I was in grad school at MIT, there was a funny thing that happened it was in Boston in the summer. It's really hot and humid. And you'll have some of the days where it's like 95 degrees and 100% humidity at 10 o'clock at night. And so me and a lot of the grad students, we all having no money being broke grad students, we would sleep in the server room at the computer lab because free air conditioning 24/7. So you go in on a hot summer night, you walk into the computer lab and there's all these grad students in sleeping bags all over the place, right? And I was there one night, just kind of relaxing before I fell asleep. And it struck me. I'm like, oh my God, people are just like computers, that your body is the hardware and the subconscious mind is the software.
There you go.
And I thought that was so interesting.
It can be programmed.
Right. It can be programmed. I didn't think too much about it then because I was focused on, my research, getting my degrees, et cetera. But short version of my stories was I left MIT because I helped to build a lot of the foundation of the modern internet when I was in graduate school.
Mm.
And I got an offer to form first a website company and then a video game company. And I'm like, wow, I was one of the world's leading experts in TCP/IP internet protocol. And I thought, wow, this opportunity won't last forever. So I left MIT before I finished my PhD to do the startups. And long story short, we had a lot of success at first. I did the first website for the Sony PlayStation, which was super fun. We did the first website for Disneyland. It was cool. I created the world's very first, what today we call an MMORPG, or a massively multiplayer online game, years ahead of the rest of the world.
Right.
So I was doing really cool stuff, but I was working 100 hours a week.
Wow.
And long story short, I destroyed my health. and went through a major crisis. My best friend and business partner betrayed me, stole the companies from me. And I was left, doctors declared me untreatable when I was 27 years old. And
Wow.
they recommended me for lifetime disability and basically sent me home to die
Oh my gosh.
at 27, right?
At 27.
And that was just horrible beyond anything I could have imagined. And, the very short version of the story is, I tried the conventional treatments for years, and they eventually just gave up on me, told me to not come back.
Wow.
Then I turned to the alternative medicine, which I used to deride and think was silly. And at first I was excited. I'm like, wow, maybe acupuncture or herbs or a cleanse or homeopathy will help me. So I spent 5 years living with my parents, running up a gigantic credit card debt, doing all this alternative medicine. But it didn't help me. And I was so frustrated.
Wow.
And it all came to a head when I had a experimental surgery that left my right arm paralyzed. And so that was kind of, rock bottom. And it was funny. My Aunt Lauren kept nagging me to go see her friend Terry. She had been a financial professional, super smart, Wharton School MBA, big nerd just like me. And she had gotten really sick, and this energy healing had saved her life. And she was so in love with it, she quit her job in finance to be a healer professional.
Wow.
And I thought she was nuts. I'm like, wow, this lady's gone off the deep end of the new age pool, right? And so I had a session with her, and she talked to me about the power of the subconscious, introduced me how to check herself for blocks, asked me a lot of questions. We did this block clearing. And the whole time I'm going, this feels like programming, right? Very much like coding.
Yep.
And long story short, at the end of the session, her eyes rolled back into her head. She went into a trance. And about a minute later, there was this loud crack in my elbow, like a little firecracker went off. And I could move my arm again. And I was like, oh my God, right? What I actually said was a little more R-rated. But in case there's children listening, I won't repeat that here. But that was the day this diehard skeptical engineer scientist experienced his first miracle. And I was forced to acknowledge there's something real here, right? I didn't necessarily believe all the new age stuff.
There's something more than the tangible stuff.
But there is something to this, or this never could have happened.
Right.
And so really what I learned, back to connect to your question, is I was right that the human is just like a computer. You got your body, which is the hardware. The software which runs the whole thing is the subconscious. And nearly all of our major problems in life, if you're sick, if you're in pain, if you're depressed, if you have an addiction, all these things are ultimately bugs in your software.
Is it safe to say that our conscious mind is like the computer programmer, whereas the subconscious mind is the computer that just runs the program that it's been given?
Close. I would say the conscious mind is what you see on your monitor. The subconscious mind is the whole rest of the computer. It's the processor, the memory, the hard drive, the video card, etc. Because all you see is your keyboard, your mouse, and your monitor, right?
Right.
Everything else is in the box.
So it's what you put in the keyboard, the mouse, the monitor, all that stuff gets fed into the server, the subconscious brain, and that's what runs the program.
And what it comes down to is pretty simple. All of our lives are controlled by programs running in the subconscious. So really popular one to work on. The amount of money you make is determined by the programming in your subconscious. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Just like the program you see on the screen is controlled by the code writing from the hard drive to the memory. And the processor executes the code. There's your program.
And it's all based on the inputs that are coming in.
It's ultimately all just ones and zeros.
Yep.
If let's say you're sick or you have chronic pain, that is all coded into your software. A lot of it is caused by traumas or childhood experiences. There's different reasons it gets there. But when I learned energy healing was, wow, this is just software in a new medium.
Yeah.
So my skill set from software engineering most of it applied directly to being a healer.
Interesting.
And that's what I see myself as doing. People come in, they have a problem, maybe they, been diagnosed with cancer, or they're struggling with depression, or they're going through a divorce, all sorts of issues, right? My goal is to go, okay, what's the software that you're using to create this? And the reason so many of us struggle so much, including me, is simple. Chris, I'll ask you this. Maybe you've heard this one. I remember this was a blonde joke that was popular in the 90s. How do you know when a blonde has been using your computer?
She hasn't.
Well, your monitor is covered with black marker and whiteout. So that's funny, right? Hopefully I won't get canceled by all the blonde people, right? It's meant in jest, right? And it's funny because if your software isn't working, drawing on the monitor won't help.
Right.
Right? At best, you'll go to a lot of effort to make it look like it's working for 30 seconds.
Right.
But honestly, that's how most of us live our lives.
On the surface.
We're drawing on the monitor, wondering why we can't fix our programs. And a lot of Western medicine is drawing on the monitor.
Yeah.
Not that it's wrong to do that. It just isn't going to do what you want.
It's not going to get down to the level that you need.
Right. Most people's relationship with their doctor is you go in, they run a bunch of blood tests, it creates numbers, and they give you a bunch of prescription drugs to make the numbers go up or down. That's pretty much right. And that's just drawing on the monitor.
Yeah.
You're just fixing, faking the outcome to make it look like it's working.
It's a Band-Aid.
Right. So same thing with money. If you want to make more money, skipping your Starbucks and avocado toast and never taking a vacation probably won't do it. Why? Money is not about money. Money's about the code that attracts money.
Yeah.
And
the belief system.
Yes. Einstein had a famous quote, said something along the lines of, we cannot solve a problem at the same level it presents its symptoms at. So if the problem is the program doesn't look right on your screen, drawing on the monitor won't help.
Yeah.
We got to get into the code that's creating the program. And the same thing with our lives. So every single person, you, me, everyone listening, you have a program inside of you that determines your physical health. You have a program that determines how much money you make. You have a program that determines your mood. Are you happy? Are you angry, afraid, sad? We have a program that determines what our social life is like.
Right.
You have a program that tells you how much free time you have, even how long you're going to live. And it's all written into the software.
Now, is that so? Now, where are these things coming from? Are they coming from childhood? Are they coming from your external environment, like people you hang out with,
Sure.
news? Where's all this coming from?
There's a couple major sources, and I'd say just like software, for the most part, no one cares why the bug is there; they just want it fixed, right? But number one would be genetic things. That's the most common. A lot of the problems we have are things we inherited from our ancestors. So, even doctors acknowledge this. All of us have a genetic makeup that makes us much more prone to certain diseases and resistant to others. So a lot of this, it comes through the DNA. But again, that is just more software.
Right.
Greg Braden wrote a book called The God Code that explains that really well. That the DNA is basically God's programming language for life.
Right.
So ancestors, genetic issues, I'd say is the biggest piece. Childhood experiences is also significant. What was your life like when you grew up? What was your relationship to your parents? Were you healthy? Were you sick? Did you always have dinner, or did you not? Were you rich or poor? Were you bullied at school? All these things matter. So a lot of this is from childhood experiences. Some of it is from later adult experiences. That essentially the older we get, the more resistant we become to life.
Interesting.
So for a young child, like 6 years or below, they're wide open.
Right.
Everything they see, experience, hear, feel, and touch goes in and affects them for the rest of their life.
Yeah, exactly.
As we get older,
molded
that sensitivity turns down, but it never goes to zero. So, especially traumatic experiences, that's a lot of the debugging I do. Right? You had a car accident and lost your boyfriend, or, your mother died, or, your house burned down, or you went bankrupt, and you go on and on, right? You had a sports injury and lost your career. So a lot of that is from traumatic experiences. That's a lot of the debugging I do. There's also an esoteric aspect to it. The rest of it would be what you might call some combination of past life memories and soul contracts. And, I'm not here to push any theology on anyone. I tell people, believe whatever you want, right? If you don't believe in gravity, I'm not going to try to convince you. No worries, right? If you're a gravity denier, go crazy, create your YouTube channel, get your followers. I don't care.
And then go jump off a building to see if you're right.
Jump off a building. We'll see what happens, right? But there's some mechanism by which we're affected by things in other times and places. Whatever that is, we don't need to get into. But through that's where most of the bugs come from.
Okay.
And what will happen is at a certain point in life, it starts expressing. And this is, again, very much like the DNA. There is genetic code, but what really dominates is what is called epigenetics, which is, does this gene express or not? And that's all environmental.
Interesting. Okay.
And so we're all full of taking time bombs.
And doesn't sound good.
Yeah. But when it goes off, boom, right? That's when something goes wrong. You get migraines, you get cancer, you start having depression, you have back pain, right? You get insomnia, you start using drugs, whatever it is. And, my goal is to go in and try to repair some of that damage. It's just, again, like a virus that infected your code.
Mm-hmm.
And the good news is when you can reprogram these things, you can see some sometimes miraculous shifts in our lives. Now, I want to be honest too. This is not a magic wand that makes everything the way you want. That'd be great. Right? Chris, if you know of one, let me know. I'm going to go buy a couple, right? But what this is a powerful technology that allows us to do things that otherwise would have been very difficult or impossible.
Right.
That's what energy healing is. And so
now, is this something similar to the power of the mind, manifestation, the law of attraction, where you've got that conscious mind changing the program that's on the inside, and you're trying to rewrite the program so that all of a sudden you're saying, okay, instead of being, let's say you've got a fear of public speaking or something, and you keep on saying, okay, I like myself, I like myself 1,000 times. Eventually, you start to, that program starts to slowly shift.
Yes.
Is it something like that?
There's something like that, but it's a much more powerful technology.
Okay.
And, again, the way I see all this stuff, I see it as technology. It may look like woo-woo or dance or prayer. It's technology.
Okay.
And I understand all this stuff as 3 generations of technology, what I call consciousness technology. The first generation is what you referenced, what we might call the law of attraction.
Right.
Right? Saying your mantras, making a vision board, all the things from The Secret, things like that. And so that's a good start, but that's a very primitive technology. So, for example, if you don't believe you love yourself, you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I love you 1,000 times over 3 years. Maybe at that point it changes and you start to love yourself. That's nice, but that took you 3 years and a huge amount of talking to get there, right? We can usually do that in 5 minutes with the right energy healing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that's why it is like technology, that how long would it take you to get from New York to London? I don't know, you'd say 5-6 hours on a jet, right?
Right.
Half that on the Concorde. Well, what would happen if you asked someone 200 years ago? They'd say it takes at least 3 weeks on a fast ship, right?
All about the technology.
Right. It's just technology. That's why I say it's not a magic wand. So is there risk? Of course there is when you travel. Is there a chance it could take a lot longer than 3 weeks? Sure. Ships get lost, they sink, people get stranded. It's just we learn to build airplanes, and airplanes get us there faster.
Right.
And that's all this is. And so the first generation is kind of positive thinking, mantras, vision boards, stuff you see in The Secret. What's interesting is the research on it shows that about 1% of people feel they get significant results. So for most people, most of the time, it does not move the needle. For some people, it does. And if you go watch The Secret, all those glowing testimonials you see, those are the 1%.
Right.
Right? You put 1,000 people in a hotel conference room, you have them say mantras for 3 days, 10 of them will see a shift in their life.
Right.
That's cool, right? But it's only 10. The second generation is where it gets interesting. This is where we directly address the subconscious.
Okay.
And that's why it's so much more powerful and so much faster. Because roughly 99% of your life is created from the subconscious. The conscious mind has a small role, about 1%.
Right.
Matters a little, but not a lot. And when your conscious mind is up against the subconscious wins every single time.
And I've heard it said that the conscious mind, if you were to put the conscious mind up against the subconscious mind, it'd be kind of like comparing a golf ball and a basketball. The conscious mind is the size of a golf ball.
Yeah.
Subconscious mind is the size of a basketball. 90% larger.
I'd say more like a pea versus a basketball.
Okay.
But yes. Some people would say 90%, 99. We can argue the number. It doesn't matter.
Same concept.
And so the second generation, that's things like motion code, NLP, Psych K, theta healing.
Okay.
What
Subliminal
they're all
healing?
doing. What's that?
Subliminal healing?
Yes. That they all have the similar paradigm of there's blockages in the energy or negative beliefs or traumas or trapped emotions, different vocabulary, all means the same thing. And they have techniques to help identify the blockage and to clear it. So some use prayer, some use a machine or electricity or diet or supplements so there's a lot of different versions of it. But again, it's just like programming a computer.
Was NLP what the East Germans back in the day used for the Olympics? There was like this mental programming going on where they're able to get like the highest per capita.
Yes, I don't know if it was NLP specifically, but it was that or something very similar.
Yeah,
yes.
They did some mind
and it worked.
thing, and it works.
It can be argued as unethical for sure, because they took teenagers and said, put a gun to their head and said, do this or your whole family goes to prison. And they go, okay, right? So, but yes, it was a very similar thing. And the fact is, if you know what you're doing, that stuff works. Why? Yeah. It's changing your code. And the second generation is fascinating because we start to see a lot more results. You're seeing 10, 20, 30 times better results. Okay. And that's where we start to see a lot of the medical miracles. Wow. So I've seen dozens of my clients instantly heal from cancer. Not everyone, right? I've also had clients die. I want to be honest. This is not 100%. There's like no technology is 100%.
Right.
When you got on a sailing ship in the old days, there was a 99% chance you'd survive. Wasn't 100. 1 in 100, you were dead.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying I kill my clients. What I'm saying is it's probabilistic, right? It's not magic, it's technology.
Yeah, there you go.
And so
technology can take you so far.
Yes. So, many things, migraines, back pain, allergies, depression, much of this can be cleared up relatively quickly with energy healing. Why? We just identify the bugs, you fix the bugs, the program runs. It's that simple.
Right.
Now, there is more to it. And I'm just going to talk a little about the third generation.
Okay. Yeah.
Because most of the healers and new agers on the planet have no idea it even exists. But this is the great gift I got from my late mentor. There is another level of work, which is all about what I would call awakening, exploring the true nature of the self. What are you? What is consciousness? What's the relationship between the mind and the body? What's the divine? Why are we here? What's the purpose of life? We study that and we do advanced entrainment meditations that open us up to see past the time and space boundaries that lock us in. So I can bring people to the point where you can see past lives and auras and energy with your open eyes. And we use special movements of the body in conjunction with the meditations in the study to create even more profound and faster shifts. And the second gen tech I still teach because it's wonderful for a lot of things, including physical health. Mm-hmm. If me or someone in my family or friends had an issue, they got diagnosed with cancer, had a car accident, that's what I would use. What it doesn't do, because it's language based, it doesn't address the embodiment aspect of connecting to the heart. And that's the difference in the third generation. It's more feeling and experiential than mental. And it is weirder and harder to learn. There's a steeper learning curve.
I can imagine.
But it is phenomenally powerful. But ultimately, it's doing the same thing. It's making shifts in the subconscious, shifting the codes, the programs, the myths that we live by. And it's huge because, again, your whole life is created out of what's inside of you.
Right.
That the amount of money you make is not up to your boss or the tax man or the weather or the economy. It's up to you. And when we recognize that, we have to be willing to take accountability, that you look at everything in your life and you go, I'm not sure how it happened, but I created this.
Yeah. Well, that goes to all the famous sayings like Buddha that says all that you are is a result of what you have thought. So
Yes.
it goes right to the thought power, is that
Mhm.
we create our reality, we
Yes.
create our existence, and all that we see out there is nothing but an illusion reflecting what it is
Correct.
that we believe we see.
Yep. And it's just like your computer. What you see on the screen, every last bit of it is created by the code on the hard drive, isn't it? You may not understand what's wrong or how to fix it, but that's a fact, right? What's happening at my neighbor's house has nothing to do with what's on my screen.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the code on that computer. So our lives are the same.
Right.
Everything in your life.
What you see on the screen has nothing to do with the screen. It has everything to do with
Yes.
that little box down on the floor.
Exactly. So what happens to us in our lives, if you have a hard time, if you get sick, if you lose your job, if you're struggling with money, it means nothing about you. Just like the code my desktop PC here runs tells me nothing about how good the hardware is. You take great hardware, you give it crap code, you get crap output.
Yeah. Garbage in, garbage out.
Garbage in, garbage out. And so a lot of us feel bad about ourselves. I'm in pain, I'm sick, I'm alone, I'm depressed, I'm addicted. Well, just know it's not really your fault. You just got bad code loaded onto you, right? If I load a virus onto my computer, it's not my computer's fault.
Change the code, change the results.
We got to clear it off. You got to bring your computer guy over and reinstall everything. Right?
There you go.
Right. So there's nothing wrong that all of us are inherently, that what I tell my students is, I see everyone I see as a Ferrari covered in mud. That if you didn't know better, if you saw a Ferrari covered in mud, you go, that's ugly and it smells bad. I don't want that. Right.
Right.
But hose it off and there's this incredible, beautiful high performance machine that's worth a ton of money too. Right.
Yeah. There you go.
And that's how I see my clients and students. We're all Ferraris covered in mud. If you know how to do it, all we have to do is wash off the mud and you're not ugly and stinky and bad anymore. Just like, anyone that knows that's worked with tech, your phone, your computer, your tablet, 99% of the time it's the software.
Yeah.
Right? Every now and then you have a hardware failure. They happen.
Yeah.
But 99 times out of 100, you just got the wrong code. You clicked the wrong link. You downloaded the wrong version.
Or it's like when you're in your office and your IT person, something goes wrong with your computer, and your IT person, you call them up and say, "What's wrong with my computer?" And they're saying, "Reboot." And it just clears out the cache and it goes back, and it's all in the code.
Yep. At least on Windows, 9 out of 10 problems are solved by reloading the page in your browser.
Right.
9 out of the other 10 are solved by rebooting. Why? Again, there's nothing wrong with the hardware most of the time.
Yeah.
We just got to update the code.
Yeah.
So for all of us, there's nothing inherently wrong with you. We can all make money. We can all feel better. We can all make friends and feel happy. We just got to recognize it's not the outside that we have to force to change. Like a lot of people think, oh, if I had more money, I'd be happy.
Right.
No, you wouldn't.
It's the other way around.
Right.
If you're happy,
really
then suddenly you'll find that you have more money. You're like, what? How'd that happen?
I've had friends and family that, have made a lot of money, been very successful in different things. What happens is for about 6 months, they're over the moon. Then they're right back to exactly who they were before, except there's a bigger number on their bank statement.
Right.
It does not change you at all.
What you really are looking for are the underlying things that the money that you are desiring could actually bring.
Right.
So instead of focusing on the numbers, because you can't manifest numbers, you can't visualize numbers, you can't emotionalize numbers, you can emotionalize sitting on the beach. You can emotionalize the wonderful vacations. You can emotionalize the freedom. You can emotionalize the wonderful things that you can do to donate to other people. All these things. That's your life. So emotionalize and visualize your life, not the numbers.
Yep. And some things are very easily fixed. Again, it's just like software. If you hired me to fix your computer when I was doing code, it might take me 5 minutes. Sometimes, there's a semicolon missing. Boom, everything works like magic, right? Other times I may be, hey, I got to tear this whole thing down and rewrite it. It's going to take a year. And we are the same. That's why I say many of my clients, she shifts very quickly, but not everyone. Not every program can be debugged in an hour or two. A lot can't. Sometimes it takes more time. But we can almost always do more than what you think you can.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the takeaways, right?
Definitely. Now, you mentioned, you had that miraculous healing with your elbow, and that woman was doing some wonderful spiritual healing and energy healing with you. What are some of the other miraculous or wonderful experiences that you've had the privilege to help others do?
There have been so many. I still remember my first healing session that was kind of a real session, meaning not a training session, right? Not a practice. It was with one of the volunteers at my game company. That he had helped out a lot with my video game, but he had lifelong asthma. And he was going to doctors and inhalers, and they'd just say, you need this for the rest of your life. And I offered to my whole team, I'm like, hey guys, I'm learning healing. This is going to be my new career. If anyone wants to try it, let me know. And he booked a session with me. I think he paid me like $10 or something, right?
Boy, that was a bargain for him.
Yeah. Well, I was looking for practice, right?
Sure.
And so we worked on it one session. Next day, he woke up, never had asthma again. Just gone.
Wow.
Another great one was, this was 15 years ago now. My mother had a real medical scare. She was diagnosed with clear cell endometrial cancer, which is a death sentence. The long-term survival rate is like 3%.
Wow.
And I remember I was scared, right? So I did about an hour of healing with her on the phone, but I really wanted to make sure we turned it all the way up. So I arranged a group healing session, and I invited my teachers and all my students, and we all got together in a room and did a group healing. And she had the surgery the next week, and all the cancer had vanished from her body.
Wow.
It was gone.
That's amazing.
The only sad part is her doctor still convinced her to do the chemo and radiation. Because he didn't believe that it could go that easily.
Of course not.
And so, long story short, she had no real long-term effects from the cancer. But the chemo and radiation did a number on her. Now, to be clear, I'm not against doctors. I just think they have their place over here. And energy healing has its place over here.
Exactly.
Right? If I get hit by a car and have broken bones, take me to the emergency room. Do not call my healer. Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Vice versa, if you have this chronic emotional issue, I'm not sure your doctor can help.
No.
He can draw on the monitor, right? Give you a drug that makes you feel better for a few weeks, a few months, but it's not going to solve it.
No.
And, again, so it's, you want to draw on your monitor, or you want to rewrite the code.
So what is it? I mean, you were talking about, these, great circle and bringing together a group of people. So what is it that you do, in these healings that, brings through the energy that breaks through and starts to rewrite this code? What is it that you're doing?
There's a couple pieces to it. One of the pieces is the theta brainwave. That most of the time when we're awake, when we're in what's called a beta state, it's a high frequency brainwave. When we're asleep and dreaming, that's known as REM sleep, rapid eye movement. That is the theta state. And that's when your subconscious is open for business. So one of the tricks is, in order to directly access the subconscious and change the code, we need to put you into a theta state. And there's a lot of ways to do that. When I work one-on-one with people, I know how to do it automatically. But I also teach people how to get there on their own. You can do it through meditation. There's technological aids, sounds, and lights you can use. But that's an important piece of it.
Is meditation the natural theta state? Is that the level?
Meditation for most
Or
people
is that
brings them
alpha?
to an alpha state.
Alpha.
Yes.
Okay, that brings them to an alpha. Okay.
Now, the really high level meditators can get to theta.
That would be trance.
So, like, for example, the Tibetan monks that walk out at 40 below with a wet blanket and then meditate and warm their bodies, that's a theta state.
Okay.
But that takes usually a lot of training and practice. But yes, most people meditating go to an alpha state, which is halfway between theta and beta.
Okay.
And the alpha state has a lot of benefits. It opens us up to learn faster. It reduces stress, improves the immune system. So there's a lot of benefits to the alpha state. But we can jack it up and do even better with theta.
Go right to the subconscious.
Yes. And so a lot of hands-on healing, Reiki healing, pranic healing, things like that, they are primarily using an alpha state. So you are able to see a lot of shifts in results, clear emotions, release pain. But if you want to see the dramatic shift in the physical body, you need the theta state. That essentially the lower you go, the more powerful it becomes.
Right.
So that's a big piece of it. Another piece of it is knowing how to channel the energy of healing. That it's a little esoteric, but every mother with a sick child knows you can will yourself to give your child energy. And what you're doing is, in that case, you're kind of siphoning gas out of your gas tank to give it to your friend. Right.
Or it's like the old adage of, when, a mother's child is trapped underneath a car, they suddenly have superhuman strength and they don't know where it came from.
Right. The trouble is, if you do that consistently multiple times a day over years, it will kill you.
Yeah.
So my goal is to show people how to connect to the gas station, so to speak.
Exactly.
To learn how to channel the energy coming from a higher source.
Coming from
so you
spirit,
don't have to learn to deplete your life force to heal.
Exactly.
That'll work. You can give other people your life force. Just don't make a habit of it.
Right.
This is what happened to Edgar Cayce.
Yeah.
He knew he could only do 2 sessions a day, but he really wanted to help. Ended up doing 4, 5, 6, 7, and he got sick and it killed him eventually. Just not his fault. The technology was not well understood at that point.
Right. Well, that's exactly the same thing as, when you're doing a mediumship session, you can either connect to spirit and allow spirit to bring through, all of their energy and you're connecting because you'll feel refreshed after the reading. Or if you're really struggling and you're bringing the connection, but it's just not all that clear, at the end of the reading, you'll feel drained and you'll know it.
Yep.
That's the difference.
Exactly. And that's important to learn how to channel the energy versus depleting yourself. And I said the last big piece, obviously training experience always matters in everything, is learning how to open up to your intuitive guidance.
Right.
That, I don't know the answer to every problem every client has. I know a lot, but I far from know everything. So the intuitive guidance allows you to show up and ask the right questions and apply the appropriate remedies for each issue.
And just be open to what you receive.
Yep. And you put it all together, we have some really powerful effects. And it's, again, it is a technology that allows us to do things that otherwise would be difficult or impossible.
Yeah.
You cannot walk from LA to Tokyo. Basically impossible, right?
Right.
You have a boat, you can do it. You have an airplane, you can do it even faster.
Exactly.
And that's all this is.
Right.
This is things that humans have been doing as long as we've been on the planet. But in our modern era, we've gotten disconnected from a lot of it.
Oh, yeah.
There's many traditional shamanic systems throughout the whole world, through all of history, where they've gotten bits and pieces of it.
Oh, yeah. It's been
Chinese medicine is an obvious one. Many of the traditions of Central and South America with the healing, and nowadays the psychedelics is a big deal. So, every part of the world has discovered a little bit of it. The difference is now with the globally connected information ecosystem, we can learn and bring them all together to make it so much more powerful.
Wow.
So, I've studied different shamanic systems. I've studied energy healing. I've studied religion. I've studied philosophy. I've learned all these different things. And this is really the first time in history where that was possible.
Yeah, that's great.
And so that's my goal, is to build a better technology to help people get to where they want to be.
Is this something that people can learn for themselves at some point?
Absolutely.
Kind of like learning how to program.
I strongly encourage it. because when people learn learn how to do it from me, there's a couple benefits. Number one, a certain amount of your need for healing you can do for yourself for free anytime you want for the rest of your life. That I've found that people that learn to do at least the basics, it cuts down on their need for me about 70%, which is significant, right?
Yeah.
Instead of needing 10 hours with me, you need 3.
Wow.
And part of that is people that are trained, I can work with you at a higher level and go faster.
Oh, okay.
It'd be like, imagine a race car driver having a passenger. If they've never gone fast, they're going to be freaking out and ask for you to slow down. If you have another trained race car driver as your passenger, they're not going to slow you down.
They'd be like, let's go.
Right. So do you have to learn it? No, of course not. I encourage people to. And plus, I think it's freaking awesome to learn to create miracle healings, right?
Yeah.
If you ask Brent, I don't know why everyone doesn't learn this.
Yeah.
It's like, you kidding me? This is freaking awesome, right? When I did my first training, it took me less than 2 months before I saw my first miracle. So that's pretty good.
That's great.
But again, I want to tell the truth. Just so everyone knows, we don't pick the miracles. They pick us.
Yeah, exactly.
There is no way to go, I must have this miracle in this way at this time. No, let that go. That's the ego. It's only going to cause you problems.
Exactly.
We apply the technology and we see what happens.
Yeah. It's like saying, okay, well, I'm going to pick that crystal and that crystal and that crystal. Doesn't work that way. Crystals pick you.
Yes, the crystals pick you. They have their own intelligence.
There they go.
And my teacher, Terry, there was a funny story. She wasn't really into crystals, but she was teaching a class and one of her students had set up a table with crystals because, one of her students was into crystals.
Right.
And she was like, Terry, come look at the crystals. I was like, no, crystals, not my thing. Right. And I was actually there. I saw this with my own eyes. Terry walked over to the table. One of the crystals near the edge rolled off on its own and hit her in the foot. I was like, my thought was there like a minor earthquake?
Yeah, right.
Maybe someone bumped the table. I don't know. But that's what I saw. The crystal rolled off the table, hit her in the foot. And she was like, oh, I'm sorry. And she reached down and picked it up and got this look on her face. Like, I'm what? Does it hurt? Like, why? She's like, no, it just talked to me.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And she said, yeah, it said, hi, my name is Max. You're supposed to buy me. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
And I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't been there.
Yeah, that's hysterical. That's great.
So, yes, we don't get to pick when and how the miracles occur.
Yep.
Just like,
we can ask for it.
Yeah, we can ask for it. Just like you get on a flight, you don't know where you're going to land, do you?
Exactly. You hope you know where
right.
You're
you hope you know. You hope you're on time. But that's not up to you.
No. You hope you got in the right flight.
Right. One time, I think it was my freshman year at MIT, coming home from college, 3 legs of the flight, all delayed by hours. I was up for 38 hours. Straight. Coming off of finals.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Took me a day and a half to get home. What should have been a 5-hour flight. But healing is the same.
Yeah.
We can talk about averages, but honestly, I don't know how long it'll take you to achieve your goal. Just like if you ask me, hey, Brent, how long will it take you to debug my computer? I don't know. Might take 5 minutes, right? If your only issue is you're allergic to cats, 5 to 10 minutes, I can probably knock that out. That's an easy one, right? Again, there's never 100%. My joke is the only 100% you're going to see is the money back guarantee, right?
Yes.
Which I do not offer on privates, right? Just so we're clear. For some of the trainings and self-directed learning I do. That's the only place 100% comes into play.
There you go.
Everything else is within physical reality, it's probabilities. But honestly, that's no different than a doctor, a lawyer, or a plumber.
Sure.
There's no plumber that can fix 100% of your sinks, right? There's no doctor that cures 100% of their patients. There's no lawyer that wins 100% of their cases. Welcome to real life, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's no basketball player that makes 100% of their shots.
Some that make a lot of them.
And that, if you make a lot of them, you can make a heck of a lot of money playing a game.
There you go.
But
even then, the averages.
Yeah, this was like 10 years ago. I calculated that Clayton Kershaw, Major League Baseball pitcher, he got paid over $10,000 per pitch he threw. Can you imagine that? Throw the ball, ka-ching, 10 grand. Throw the ball,
Not
ka-ching,
bad.
10 grand. Yeah.
But he had to be throwing some pretty good pitches.
Yeah, my dad calculated once that Shaquille O'Neal made more money at halftime than he did in his entire career. Right? But yes, this is a powerful tool that can help you to achieve things more easily. It doesn't, sometimes it does all the work for you. Miracles happen.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the results are we open up something within you that allows you to do something you couldn't do before.
Right.
So like, for example, weight loss. I have never had a client that lost 50 pounds overnight. Doesn't work that way.
No.
But I've had a lot of clients that could not eat well. They couldn't stick to an exercise program, that had low self-esteem and emotional eating and all that, right? We do the work, and that allows them to show up in their life more powerfully. They start eating better. They start working out more. They feel better about themselves and their body. So this is often a facilitator along with action in the world. Right. So when I recovered from my chronic pain, it was not just energy healing. I did physical therapy. I worked with pain doctors. I had magnets and PEMF machines and 10 stimulators. And I exercised and I meditated, right? But the difference was this: the 5 years I was in hell with my chronic pain, nothing I did changed anything. Thousands of hours of body work, osteopaths, homeopaths, cleanses, diet, all this, nothing helped. When I started doing the energy healing, all the other things slowly started to kick in and work.
There you go.
So yeah, my frozen elbow healed instantly. My chronic pain did not instantly heal.
Okay.
But energy healing is what opened the door.
Yeah.
And so that 2-3 years later, I went, wow, I am feeling better.
There you go.
But it wasn't like it would all disappear at once.
No.
Right? Most chronic issues are like that.
Well, that's why they're chronic.
That's why they're chronic, right? If you've been severely depressed for 30 years, it's possible, but unlikely you'll be jumping for joy tomorrow.
Right.
More likely is we'll get you past the obstacle that's kept you stuck. And then, as you take action over time, you will see more and more results.
Everything is an evolution, not a revolution.
Yes. Again, the crazy miracles happen in 5 minutes an hour, but that's a relatively small percentage.
Yeah, exactly.
Most of the work is more over time, commitment, exchange, and you will get there just faster and more easily. I like to think of
it's all about the subconscious. It's all about, getting inside there.
I think of myself as like a lighthouse.
Ah, yes.
A lighthouse does not make the ship go to its destination. It doesn't make the weather. It just shows you the way.
Yeah.
So the ship sees the lighthouse. It has a much better chance of getting to where it wants to go.
And avoiding the rocks.
Right. And avoiding the rocks. Exactly. That's my role as the healer, as the coach. I don't know everything about your life. You don't either. Right. But I think I can get you to where you want to go faster and more easily with less wrecks on the rocks than you would on your own.
Yeah. There you go.
But that's true of every consultant and professional and helper.
Oh, yeah.
Doctors, lawyers, accountants, right? I could eventually do my company's tax return on my own, but it might take me 400 hours, right? Instead, I pay my accountant and it takes him 10.
Yeah. And you might get it wrong a lot.
Right.
As you're trying to do it.
And I could make a mistake that could cost me a lot of money.
Or worse.
Right. Or land you in jail. Sure. But yes, I'm there to facilitate your journey.
Yeah, exactly.
There's always a journey.
Well, this is fascinating. This is fascinating. I mean, the power of the mind, and the mind is like, everybody says, oh, well, there are all these areas that are so unexplored. They're saying that, outer space is unexplored and deep sea is unexplored. What's really unexplored is the mind. That's the area that really needs to be explored.
During my lifetime, I'm in my 50s. We know at least 1,000 times more about the brain than we did when I grew up.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan. I'm reading right now Robert Sapolsky's Determined, which is all about the neuroscience of determining whether there's fate or free will. And here's what I love about it. It reaches the exact same conclusion that the spiritual literature has been telling us for thousands of years.
Yeah.
So I'm reading the book because I love science, but you could also read the Vedas. It tells you the exact same thing.
Exactly.
And that's what I love. I call my company Where Science Meets Spirit, because that's what I am. I'm a scientist, an engineer, a huge nerd who ended up doing energy healing, right?
Yeah.
But I'm still a nerd and a scientist.
it's like, comparing, quantum physics or quantum mechanics to spirituality. They're both saying the same thing.
Exactly. In fact, one of my more popular YouTube videos, I explain step by step the physics of miracles.
Yeah.
You can look at the equations of physics, and if you know how to look at them the right way, they will explain how miracles happen. So
from everything from energy to, the Copenhagen interpretation, that explains, much of manifestation, law of attraction. It's all out there.
Yes. And it's funny that for a longest time, basically since the time of Descartes, religion stayed over here and science stayed over here.
Right.
During our lifetime, they've come together.
At least some part.
Yes, well,
still Newtonian
there
science.
But if we look
over there
specifically at cosmologists, people that look at the large scale structure and history of the universe, 50 years ago, they were all atheists. Now they're all spiritually minded.
Interesting.
Because cosmology does not work without a divine.
Interesting.
And so almost all the cosmologists acknowledge, yes, there is this divine energy, higher dimensional thing going on.
But they call it something scientific.
Right. But, the math is crystal clear.
Yeah.
That our universe has at least 11 dimensions. We know almost nothing about the 7 that we can't touch with our biology. But the math is crystal clear.
Wow.
So there absolutely are higher dimensions that have powers and abilities that we cannot understand or even comprehend.
Yeah.
But we have technology that can let us harness it. Just like electricity.
Amazing.
500 years ago, people didn't know jack about electricity.
Right.
They didn't realize that the lightning bolt and the static shock were the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
The 19th century, we cracked the code.
Yeah.
In the 20th century, we turned it into technology. And now electricity lights our homes, runs our cars, runs the computer you're watching this on.
Yeah.
And that this is the same. Consciousness energy is a technology. And we are starting to understand it and turn it into engineering to give us practical results.
Right.
So
just because you can't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Right. You can't really see electricity, can you?
Nope.
You can see the effects of electricity. Like a lightning bolt ionizes the air. You can see the air ionize, but you cannot see the electricity.
Yeah.
But yes, energy, consciousness, the divine flow, intuition, these are all tangible, real things. And I'm here to try to push the technology forward.
Great.
And as an engineer, I'm not doing the science. I'm applying the science to create results in the practical world. That's the difference between a scientist and an engineer. I'm an engineer. I take the things the scientists figured out and build cool stuff with it.
That's cool. You should be talking to my son.
Oh, I would love to. I love to work with young people.
Yeah, he's an engineering student at NYU, and
that's great.
He does not believe in the big man in the sky.
That's okay. Again, I'm not here to convince anyone of anything.
Talk to him about the computer part about it and the energy part, engineering part about it. He'd be like, oh, interesting.
Right, because the model of religion doesn't fit our experience.
Especially not the younger generations.
I get it. I rejected religion too.
There you go.
I studied it. I gave it a shot. I go, this is a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
And then I discovered the spiritual world. I'm like, oh, okay. It's the cool part, and it actually works and is real. Like it, right?
Yeah.
But again, I'm not here to convince anyone of anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
You believe whatever you want to believe. I just think if you can line up your beliefs with the truth of the laws of the universe, you'll work a lot better.
Yeah.
Right? You're welcome to jump off your roof and flap your arms and try to fly. Right? Don't let me stop you, right?
Exactly. You may want to have a net out of there.
Yeah, exactly. If you're interested in learning how to fly, I can teach you aeronautics, right?
Yeah, right.
But if, but again, I'm not going to force any belief on anyone.
There you go.
I don't live in a place of belief.
Yeah.
I live in a place of knowing.
Yeah.
People ask me, they'll go, hey, Brent, do you believe in God? Why? I go, I believe in God for the same reason I believe in my car. Because it's useful and it does things and takes me places, right? I connect to God and I do healings and people see results. That's why I believe in it. Yeah. Not because I read it in a book or somebody told me so, right? Right. So yeah, exactly. I believe in God for the same reason I believe in my car.
There you go.
If you don't believe in my car, that's fine. Just don't ask me for a ride.
And just don't try to drive it.
Yeah. And that's okay. I hope at some point you believe in cars. They're useful.
They can be very useful.
Right.
Cars.
Just like if you started criticizing me for being blonde. I wouldn't argue. I'm like, dude must be blind or just a complete idiot, right? That's my late mentor Carr would say, the truth requires no defense. That's why I don't need to defend or justify anything.
Yeah.
I just see how it works.
It just is.
And I'm happy to share that with anyone that's curious.
Yeah. Wonderful.
So yeah, you don't have to believe anything. Believe whatever you want. The question is, how are your beliefs? Where are they leading you to in life?
And can you do something with them?
Right. If you want to be in a different place, we're going to have to change some of your beliefs.
Right.
But again, it's not an I told you so. It's a let's see how it really works and line up with the truth of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Right? 1 + 1 is never going to be 3. Right? You can believe that, but you're going to get in a lot of trouble with your tax return. Right?
Exactly.
Put whatever numbers you want on it. Not my problem. That's between you and the government, right?
Exactly. They may come knocking at your door saying, let's talk about this number here.
And people have asked me, Brent, why did you experience that healing when you were so skeptical? It's simple. I knew enough about quantum physics and cosmology to know that I couldn't rule it out.
There you go.
That's the key. And that's what I want to offer to everyone here.
Yeah.
Energy healing is not the perfect for everyone. And there's many different healers and styles and approaches, just like music. Most people like music, but we don't like the same music. And that's fine, right? So healing is the same. You don't need to believe in anything, God, whatever. All you need to believe is it might be possible. That's all we need.
If you can't rule it out,
right,
then there's a possibility.
If you're 100% convinced this isn't real, please don't call me.
Yeah.
Right? Don't believe in gravity. Don't believe in my car, whatever. Just, you live, you be you.
You be you.
For everyone else, all I need is this might be real. Let's try it, see what happens.
It's the possibility. It's the big question of
yes.
Is it possible? Maybe.
And it's funny. Science is what brought me there.
That's so funny.
Right? I studied quantum physics starting when I was 12 years old.
Wow.
So that's very deep within me, right? Spiritual, you don't have to meditate. No. Just the belief that it might be possible is all we need.
It's like the old saying, try it, you like it.
Yeah. Try it, I think you'll like it.
Yeah.
If you don't, okay. I love pizza.
Oh, there you go.
Someone had never had pizza. I'm like, you got to try this. It's delicious.
Right. If you don't like it,
yeah.
So what?
Some people don't like it. Like, all right.
You're not going to lose anything.
Right. Yeah.
You might just gain something.
And I'm so glad, that was one of the best decisions of my entire life.
Yeah. What's the risk reward?
Right.
It's all upside.
Right. I drive to Santa Monica, spend an hour with a crazy lady. I get a free dinner. All right. I'm cool with that. That was my worst case, right?
Yeah. Worst case, I get a free dinner. Phenomenal.
Right. Hour of my time doesn't matter.
Yep.
Upside, I experienced a life-changing miracle that not only led me to recover my health, gave me a whole new career.
Wow.
Didn't see that coming.
Yep.
So,
awesome.
So yeah, anyone that's curious, check out my website. Look me up on social media. Website is awakeningdynamics.com, and mention Chris in this show. And I'm going to give, for a limited time, I can't offer this forever, but at least for the first few weeks, every single person that mentions you heard me on this show, I would give you a free one-on-one 15-minute discovery call. Mm-hmm. The goal of that is just to see if you're a good candidate to work with me. Because I do not want to take time or money from someone that's not going to benefit.
Yeah.
So I will come out and give you my time for free to get a sense of who you are. And if I don't think I'm the right person for you, I'll recommend someone else.
Great.
So that's for everyone. Just mention the show and we'll give you that no charge.
Wonderful.
As Brent, that's the way awesome. I see it, if we can reach just one person and make a difference, this is all worth it.
Oh, there you go. Just impact one life and,
Yep.
It's like you said, it's all upside from there.
Now, I think we'll do a lot better than that, but that's how I see it.
Yeah, exactly.
If we can make one shift in one person's life, absolutely worth it.
Wonderful. Well, Brent, this is wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on. Just it's fascinating hearing everything you're saying. That not only it's just energy healing from a spiritual perspective, but it's coming from a technological perspective that is so profound, and it makes so much sense, and it's so understandable, and that we can really work with that. So thank you for coming on and explaining it, and thank you so much for your offer for people. That's wonderful. And You mentioned your website and where you can be reached, so that'll be in the show notes, so that'll be fantastic.
Yeah, if you forget, just type my name into Google. Should come right up.
Yeah, exactly.
I got a YouTube channel. You can look me up there, lots of free resources. But yeah, if you think this might be of interest to you, get in touch.
Wonderful. Great.
I'd love to be your guide.
Yeah, all those links and whatnot will be in the show notes. So just click on the show notes, and you'll go right to him and all of his wonderful stuff. So this is awesome. So thank you so much again, Brent, and thank you, everybody who has been listening to this episode. This is such an exciting episode. I'm so glad that Brent, we had you on today, and all the wonderful things that we've learned. So if you're enjoying the episode, enjoying the show, by all means, let us know. Either drop us a line at chris@montclairmedium.com, or you can also just, like and subscribe, to keep on getting more and more episodes in your feed. That's something you'll never miss an episode, and you'll never miss another Brent and all of his wonderful information. So with that, this is Chris signing off, and I will see you next week. And I am sending you love and light. Until next time, bye for now. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Spirits Beside Us. Make sure you head over to the show notes for all the links and information on this week's episode. You can check it out at spiritsbesideus.com. If you love this episode as much as I did, head over to rate and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're looking for a community of spiritual seekers like yourself, make sure you join my Facebook page, Spirits Beside Us Podcast on Facebook. This is Chris signing off, sending you love and light. I can't wait to connect with you again on Wednesday.